contract was signed. And I don't think that it would be, if these were true costs that were incurred, and I could be convinced of it, I would absolutely be in favor of it. But the documentation on this, the rationale for this, is absolutely unsupported. Now I want to speak to that. We've heard, and unfortunately, we can't recap everything that went on in the working session, but we've heard everything as a rationale from these are costs really for 2007, because, 2006 is gone. No, they're 2006. It's been all over the place. But really, the distilled element here is that there's about 1,400 hours, more or less, that is being claimed by Mr. Delano as associated with these delays between him, the time that he spent, and his supervisor, or superintendent, excuse me. And all that I ask is rationalize for me how you could spend $1,400 incremental and not having done anything in the lobbies to start. Sorry, 1,400 hours that could have been expended on this project. I know that there was a substantial amount of time that was used up, and time is money for the permits. No question at all. And I'm talking about the actual time to have to go and work with the town, et cetera, to use up those hours. I'm not talking about the passage of time from April to December, just the passing of the clock. Talking about actual work. So if there's actual work associated with those 1,400 hours, we ought to be able to at least package some of those into some key elements. Maybe there's a couple hundred hours for the lobbies and for the permits, but I don't see any other major piece that ought to explain 1,400 hours. And nothing that's been said here even comes close to describing how those hours could have transpired as actual work on the contract that's over and above what was contemplated in the contract that we should approve this kind of money. And even if it were, there hasn't been even 10 seconds of discussion here of what kind of participation in this overage ought to be taken on by Mr. Delano versus the Galaxy. This $200,000 is due to the entire delay, and now we're being asked for Galaxy to absorb 100% of that cost with not even 10 seconds of discussion. Because all of the negotiation, I want to finish. All of the negotiation, I want to finish. All of the discussion of negotiation, all of the paring down of costs is absolutely immaterial to this recommendation, to this proposal. Absolutely immaterial, because that $200,000 is only rationalized by the incremental work of Mr. Delano and his superintendent. That's the only rationale, and that is fully the $200,000 just about, and we're absorbing that entire piece, so everything else is irrelevant with regard to this issue of his general conditions overage. So the entire rationale is unsupported here that's been brought before this board. The entire rationale, and even if it were, I can't understand how there's not even any discussion whatever of some participation, joint participation in this cost. This is an absolute outrage, and the final point I want to make is that there's been no discussion whatever of the implications of this. We're now going to be at about $2.5 million in cost for this project. We haven't broken into the lobbies to begin with. What is going to be the ultimate cost? 3.5 million? 4 million? And everybody wants to say, well, we just have to go hell-bent for election and keep going because having lost sight of the objective, we redoubled our efforts. And I can't see that at all. Nobody here is talking about the implications of this. This project is out of control. And I, for one, say that this is the time, actually, if we're going to spend this kind of money and absorb it 100% for a rationale that I can't understand at all, that we ought to at least be able to say, what about this project can be looked at as an alternative so that we're not looking at $4 million in 6 months. Because that's where we're headed. We started at 1.5. Less than 1 year ago, we told the unit owners 1.5 million for the lobbies. We're at 2.5 now. Less than 1 year later, that's an overage of 60%, and we haven't even broken into lobbies. I am done.
Stephen, you've done a wonderful job of playing to the camera, and I do want to thank you.
I haven't even looked at the camera.
I know, Stephen.
Those are facts, and nobody at this table has responded in any way
Let's
to
not
it.
get into personalities
Stephen,
here,
It
please.
just
We have
totally
spent-
changed when we're in open session.
Thank you very much, Martha. You spent 2 hours in this room last week, which was after a number of prior discussions with regard to these increases. Last week you could have raised some of these issues, you chose not to, okay?
I raced it for the entire hour and 50 minutes until John brilliantly brought up the one salient fact.
Stephen?
The one salient fact that could have made any rationale to this proposal.
How can you make a decision?
Stephen, no one is suggesting that we're happy with this increase.
Right.
No
No one's
I
just
don't
sitting
care
back
that
and
you're
accepting
unhappy.
it.
It's not founded. It's
Okay, so-
absolutely unsupported
Fine.
rationally. There's no logic here. None.
Okay, then what do you think the options are, Stephen?
Well, that's a real question.
What are the
What would
options?
the options be?
Tell me, what are the options? Would you like to stop this project?
I will tell you some options.
Go ahead.
Wait.
Would you please
Anthony?
ask
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Wait.
I said option either we accept it and pay the 280,000, or we go, or we find, you know what? To get this, you know what? I said from the get-go, I wouldn't pay a penny more. But you know something? To get these lobbies done now, and I agree with you. All lobbies are disgusting. Okay, people paying $200,000 for a condo have better lobbies than we have. There's no doubt about that. To negotiate something further, what point? I don't know. But I do agree that Mr. Delano did put more time in, and I have to be honest with you. He has been a nice person up to this. He has been reasonable. There is no doubt about that. And I'm being fair on both sides. I'm not sitting here switching sides. I'm being honest. Listen to Mr. Delano talk. He is absolutely right. He has been nice. He has been cooperative, okay? He has been patient. There is no doubt about that. Is it worth something? Perhaps it is, okay? What is it worth? That I don't know, and this is not a negotiation right now in this meeting. I understand that, okay? And our third option is to rebid, or we have a project manager, we have a manager, we have engineers, the GC this project ourselves, and the follow through on it. And keep on top of it.
That's out of the question.
Keep on top of the production, what's going on. And that's all options right now.
Anthony?
What do we choose to do? I don't know.
Anthony, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
This is Harlan. Since you've been in your family's been in contracting, and you talked about having experience with your family in contracting, knowing what Tony Delano has done for us, and having met him and listened to him for so many months, do you think it's reasonable what he's saying about the amount of time that he could have possibly put in on this?
Honestly, no, I don't. But I do think this. You know what? And I'm going to say this right now. This is speaking personally right now, but people in the contracting business, and listen to the frustration of family members. I'm not talking immediate. I'm talking brothers, cousins who are in the contracting business. I know the frustration they have when they come across problems like this, or when they sit there and they bid on a job and they get the bid and they go through and all of a sudden something falls through, or they say, listen, we can't stop this project until spring, and maybe
That's business.
Okay, I understand Tony's problem, and thinking about that. You know what, and I have to be honest with you, and I'm the kind of guy that I feel this way. You know, in any negotiations, a give and take, and you hope that everyone can walk away from the table happy. Sometimes that doesn't happen. But knowing this here, and honestly, if you worth something more, perhaps yes, he is. I'm not going to say yes, okay? 488,000, definitely not. Mostly not. If I would vote on yes to go back to the table and talk, most definitely, I would, okay? Should we start this project as soon as we can? Yes, we
I have
should.
2 more
But
brief points.
You better stop
Not at
it from rolling on there.
Anthony, I'd like to interrupt because I'd like to make a point here. Please.
I'm sorry.
Stephen, you're going to make the last point. I'm going to wrap it up. We're going to call the vote.
Okay,
A
that'll be
reasonable
fine.
amount of time.
First of all, Alan, you said that I was playing to the camera. You just stop to think about that. Suddenly I brought up
It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter.
No, I
It
want to
doesn't
respond.
matter.
I intend to respond to it. Because for one thing, I sent an email on Sunday. I outlined every one of these points that I've made here. And not a one of you got back to me on it. So none of this,
Intentionally.
none of
Because
this,
it's an email.
Stephen,
none of this,
intentionally. You
I'm
know
gonna
this-
finish.
She didn't want that to-
None of these points are new to you. So it is wrong for you to say that these are initially raised now. I brought them up earlier.
Stephen,
You know what?
I have
And
advised this board before. Tony, or Anthony,
Anthony, listen,
After the meeting,
please.
Anthony has
Anthony.
time to think about it. He did.
Anthony,
Gotta stop him.
Somebody
wait till
else
he's-
is
tell him to
talking.
wait till he's recognized before he speaks.
Yeah.
Stephen,
Tell him to put you back,
I have
speaker,
got
okay?
I have got to say here that I have advised this board